Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. In our top stories today, the first trial of a sitting president, as it were, as it is being described, from the New York Post. Trump's hush money New York City trial live updates. At least 50 of first 96 potential jurors dismissed for saying they couldn't be fair, impartial. Not surprising, it's in New York. And of course, as we know, in the New York fraud case, there was no victim at all. But that didn't matter because, of course, the judge and the DA were going to presume that he was guilty and pursue it as though he were guilty. So, of course, as I mentioned here, last month I had jury duty myself. So, very interesting that this is unfolding and they're trying to find these jurors. Donald Trump is inside Manhattan criminal court today as his first criminal trial begins with jury selection over six-figure hush money payments the ex-president allegedly made to former individual adult star Stormy Daniels and Playboy playmate Karen McDougal ahead of the 2016 election. Of course, as we've talked about, when it came to 𝐀𝐦𝐚𝐳𝐶, a 30-year-old case, and now, of course, they're resurfacing this as well, which was covered all the way back in 2016, or talked about in 2016, because, of course, as we know, the lawfare is continuing against Donald Trump because the purpose isn't to seek justice. It isn't about the rule of law. It is simply to get Donald Trump's name in the headlines to produce as much negativity about him as possible. Trump has pled not guilty to 34 felony counts of falsifying business records in an effort to cover up the payment to keep Daniels and McDougal quiet about alleged affairs the women say they had with him. The case marks the first time a former president has gone to trial over criminal charges. Yes, the reason this is the first time is because this would be the second time that Donald Trump is running for president to try to stop the Establishment Uni-party. And it's the Establishment Uni-party that is trying to stop him. So yet another example. The trial is expected to last 2 months, and Trump faces up to 4 years in prison if convicted. I'm not necessarily thinking that's going to happen because people already, as we've covered here on the channel, up to 56% in a particular poll, saw that what was happening to Donald Trump was political persecution. So the way this is going to unfold, of course, is simply to get Donald Trump's name in the headlines as much as possible to generate as much intrigue and, of course, tabloid news as possible, right? Because it's a criminal trial, the former commander-in-chief must show up at court every day that it's in session. So, again, another example of making Donald Trump have to appear in court using lawfare to manipulate and move him around, to control him, to essentially to mock and humiliate him and undermine him during a campaign as well. So obviously all the precursor markers are here, obviously, to do this against him. And it's up to the people to decide. You know, it's not just a trial that we see here going through lawfare court, as I would call it, but of course, it is the jury of public opinion that the establishment is trying to generate all this. Now, this was interesting because, of course, he had a non-disclosure agreement that everyone keeps talking about. So Trump won't enforce Stormy Daniels' non-disclosure agreement. And, of course, part of that reason is the statement filed in Central California federal court says that Trump has never taken the position that he was a party to the NDA with Daniels, whose real name is Stephanie Clifford. All of the parties agree that Trump never signed the settlement agreement according to the filing, which Daniels is seeking to invalidate. So he wasn't part of her NDA or non-disclosure agreement. So of course, Cohen, being the fixer, was the one who was supposed to arrange all of this stuff. And so Trump was making the payments to Cohen as his fixer. So it wasn't necessarily that Trump himself was writing personal checks or hush money checks and so forth to them. Now, as we see here, it's difficult for them to find a fair jury. So it's just as difficult to find a fair judge, much less a fair prosecutor, or prosecutors, you know, are just going to do their job. Now, whether they're fair or not is another story. That's up to, of course, the jurors to determine whether or not Trump is getting a proper trial or that it's getting representation there. But we can clearly see that it is going to be a very, very interesting jury selection because it is in New York. There is levels of bias. There is the lawfare. There is the establishment. There is the desire of the Democrats to continually pursue Donald Trump, to obviously smear him, do these continuing tabloid-type lawfares, these tabloid-type articles, have him in the news, this constant negativity. And it's just extraordinary that we're continuing to see this. And people keep saying, oh, for the first time in history, for the first time in history. Well, it's because it's the second time that Donald Trump is running. And his platform is to get the Establishment Uni-party out of the way. The Establishment Party doesn't want to be out of the way. That's the whole point. That's what I've been trying to say on my channel since, essentially since Donald Trump ran. You guys know this. We've talked about it. I've given you countless illustrations of it. And here is yet another illustration of lawfare against Donald Trump to get him out there, to smear him, to ensure that as many people as possible can see what the establishment is trying to do, what the Democrats are trying to do. And I hope people are paying attention. And of course, we're obviously going to find out in November. But guys, I want to thank all of you across NewTek, Rumble, BitChute, and Odyssey for your guys' continued support. The likes and the comments are greatly appreciated. And of course, everyone here on YouTube. Your likes and shares do help out the channel. But as I said, below the video, I do have my links to my various social media, as well as to Amazon and to my VPN Trust Zone that I enjoy. You guys can check those out. It does help out the channel. But I want to thank all of you guys for your continued support. Appearing there on the screen for those of you watching on YouTube, that will be the channel icon. You guys can click on that to subscribe, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.